Hello, my dear friends, and welcome to Kardec After Lunch, part of SpiritismStudy.org and hosted by Kardec Radio. Take your time and download the app, Kardec Radio, for Android or iPhone, and listen to Kardec Radio programs and podcasts. Also, feel free to send questions or comments to Kardec Radio's Twitter account. And remember that all of this work is done by volunteers, but there are costs associated with web and app hosting, along with broadcast and publishing. If you're able to, please be kind and donate so this work of love may continue for many years to come. So, as it is customary, on Fridays, we're going to be reading just a quick 15-minute reading and commentary of part of the doctrine. We read the Medium's book on Friday, and this is the edition I have on hand. Throughout the reading, just feel free to contribute, sending questions, comments, or suggestions. If you would not like them to be public, feel free to send them directly to spiritismstudy.org on our Facebook page. So we last stop about the middle of item number 90. We are on chapter 5, Spontaneous Physical Manifestations. And if you don't have the book, you can open kardecpedia.com and follow us along that way. Thank you, Reynaldo Dosan, for your support. I appreciate it. So we are in the middle of 90. So let's start from where we left off. We know someone who, instead of being annoyed by them, about physical manifestation, urge them on, challenge them to do this or that, so that after a few days, they went away. But as we have said, there are some who act with less frivolous reasons. Therefore, it is always best to try to find out what they want. If they ask for something, their visits are sure to cease when they have been satisfied. The best way for obtaining information is to evoke them through a capable writing medium. From their responses, one can determine who they are and may act accordingly. If an unhappy spirit is involved, charity requires treating it with the attention it deserves. Oh, hello, Reynaldo from Brazil. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. If it is a deceptive spirit, we may deal it with directly. If it is evil, we must pray to God to enable it to become better. In all cases, however, prayer can only bring good results. So, I'll make a quick break here on our reading, and just to clarify to those perhaps checking with us the first time, we do this very quick reading and commentary of one of Kardec's books during the day specifically for the purpose of trying to reach you during a time that perhaps you're not accustomed to study or to be involved with the Spiritist doctrine. And the reason I do that is because I would like for each one of you to have an opportunity, a conscious opportunity to put this knowledge that we're covering to practice, to reorient your thoughts, your words, and your actions to fall in line with God's laws and not our, right, not our will. So this is the reason we do this. This is the reason we do it during the day. And this is the reason we open it up for questions, comments, and suggestions so you can properly interact. If you're not able to interact live, feel free to send those questions, comments, and suggestions later on, and I'll try to reply as soon as possible. So continuing. On the other hand, solemn exorcism formulas only provoke them to laughter. They are of no consequence to them. If one can communicate with them, one should distrust the burlesque or scary titles they sometimes give themselves in order to entertain themselves at the gullibility of their audience. Also, perhaps another point of why I do this, reading directly from the book, is to exemplify to you that there is not much needed for you to start your active study of Spiritism. Really, all that is needed, in my view, and that's how I like it, is a book. I suggest you start from book one, page one, however, as Kardec codified the doctrine in a logical and sequential manner for us to benefit from it. So there's no point in starting in the middle or go randomly about it, right? So let's continue. We shall return to deal with this subject in more detail, as well as the causes that frequently render prayer useless in the chapters Haunted Places, no, chapter number 9, and Obsession, chapter 23. Item number 91. Although they are produced by less evolved spirits, these phenomena are quite often caused by spirits of a higher order for the purpose of demonstrating the existence of incorporeal beings and a power superior to that of humans. The repercussions that result from them, the very horror they can stir up, call attention to the matter and end up opening the eyes of the most incredulous, who would otherwise think it simpler to regard the phenomena as effects of the imagination, a very convenient explanation that dispenses with searching for others. But when objects are turned over or thrown at people's heads, it would take a very complacent imagination not to see that the incidents are real. If something occurs, it obviously has a cause, and if a cool and collected observation shows the effect to be independent of any human will or material cause, and that it, furthermore, shows obvious signs of its own intelligence and free will, its most characteristic trait, people will be forced to attribute it to a concealed intelligence. But who are these mysterious beings? This is what Spiritist studies have revealed in a way that is hard to dispute, thanks to the means such studies have provided for communicating with them. So you see, not only Kardec went very deeply into collecting all this information, but also analyzing and codifying into a logical and sequential manner. So what I like to say is, if you were to start a new subject of study in your professional educational life, you wouldn't start from the middle, right? You start at the beginning. And it is why that many of the topics that we cover throughout the week, they are not from the first book. We do a reading sequentially. We read from the first book on Monday, second book on Tuesday, and so forth. And I do this as a way to expose people to the other books. However, hello Vanessa, thank you for joining. But the idea is we should, as much as possible, start from the beginning, right? And I like to always reiterate this part is you should start not from question 1 of the Spirit's book, but page 1 of the Spirit's book. There is a lot of valuable information in the introduction, and it does as a great benefit to really and go through the initial struggle of understanding and getting accustomed to the style of writing and having to look up words, historical figures and places, because it is important in our action. This action enables us to retain this information. So let's continue. Moreover, Spiritist studies have also taught us how to determine what is real. Oh, hello, Antonio. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. Another one from Brazil. So what is real, false, or exaggerated about the phenomena we have not witnessed? When a strange effect occurs, a noise, a movement, or even an apparition, the first thought that should enter our minds is that its cause is completely natural, because that is the most probable one. We must thus search for its cause with great care and not accept the intervention of spirits unless we do so judiciously. This will enable us to avoid delusion. For example, someone who receives a slap or blow from a cane to the back without being approached by anyone, as it has happened, could not doubt the presence of an invisible being. Oh, Antonio is from Patos de Minas, Brazil. I have heard of your town. We must caution ourselves against reports that can be considered to be more or less exaggerated, and also against our own impressions, so that we do not attribute an unseen origin to everything we find unexplainable. There are many simple and natural causes that can produce effects that appear quite strange at first glance, and it would obviously be superstitious to see spirits everywhere, occupied with overturning furniture, breaking windows, and causing all sorts of domestic disturbances that may more reasonably be attributed to our own carelessness. So, a most important part of studying, especially the mediumship effects, is the understanding, having being able to apply balance to it as to what is attributable to spirits, the spiritual influence, and what is just our carelessness, because we are not just mere puppets in God's creation. We do have our free will, and we do have a quite significant level of ignorance or lack of finesse in applying the free will He has granted us, right? So, uh, until we become perfect in His eyes, we'll still be committing many mistakes, and we'll still be conforming to His laws, or erroneously trying to conform to His laws. Antonio tells me that it's near Uberaba, uh, the town where Chico started his spiritual work. So thank you. And we have reached the end of that specific section. We are actually going to be studying the hurling of objects. And I think I'm going to have a time to read one more paragraph before we finish for today. So, number 92. The explanation of how inert objects are moved naturally applies to all the spontaneous effects we have just dealt with. Although they are louder than raps within a table, noises have the same cause. The hurling and displacement of objects are produced by the same force that lifts any object in the air. There is even a circumstances that serve to support this theory. We might ask where the median may be found in these cases, and the spirits have explained that there is always someone whose forces are used unwittingly. The spontaneous manifestations rarely occur in isolated areas, but almost always occur in inhabited houses, and are due to the presence of certain individuals who unknowingly exert their influence. What is he explaining here is there are, as we are still going to see this throughout this book, there are many prerequisites for physical manifestations to occur. And one of them is to have a medium who can contribute with his or her, well, I guess perhaps a lack of a better term. Well, actually, I would say with their fluid, or another term, spiritual force or energy or whatnot. So it's just saying that some cases, many of the cases, the person contributing is unaware of this. These people are mediums but are unaware of their abilities. We thus call them natural mediums. They are to other mediums what natural somnambulists are to magnetic somnambulists, and are as worthy of examination. So we're gonna mark here where we're gonna start over next week. And remember, we do this, like I said, to expose you to Kardec's works that perhaps you are not aware of, or have not never developed the interest to read it for yourself, and also to advertise some of our initiatives. Kardec After Lunch being one of them. We have many others. Please feel free to go to spiritismstudy.org and check us out. We'd like to thank all of those who make Kardec Radio possible. And until next time, Godspeed.